From the halls of their great house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher, their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicki Fisher, and our Batman, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical, our mild-mannered soon-to-be millionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission: to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with us. They are the Garage Heroes in Training team.
Welcome to the Garage Heroes in Training podcast. I'm going to be your host, solo mio. It's just Bill this week. They all ditched me, but I've got three people who should make up for our loss of the Wilson sisters and Alan, who ditched me. I have three guests from Australia talking to us. We have Paul Calder, we have David Nelson, and we have Ben McGuire. Welcome to the podcast, everybody.
G'day, mate. How are you?
Yep. You had to lead with that, really?
Yep. He didn't do the shrimp on the Barbie or anything like that.
Well, we'll keep it simple to start with. And then we'll get into the real slang.
All right, very well. Well, I can keep up for a little bit, but it's I'm sure you guys have a depth of slang that we may not be familiar with all the way out here. But just in case people aren't familiar with you, because this will not only be in Australia, hopefully we'll get 2 or 3 listeners from around the world. Could you guys give a brief introduction for those who might not be familiar with you? Maybe we'll start with Ben.
Yeah, no dramas. Thanks for having us on. It's always good. We're a bit of mad budget racing fans, and we like to talk about racing. You know, our cheap little shitbox cars around tracks. So we're motor events racing, and we're focused on racing budget motor vehicles and basically just having a lot of fun. So we do endurance racing across Australia, which is a pretty big place for those that don't know. So to fly from one end to the other, you're looking at 5-6 hours. From flying to the top to the bottom, you're looking at 4 or 5 hours. So we've got a lot of space and a lot of tracks very spread out. Mm-hmm. But we're all about a lot of track time, a lot of fun, not that serious racing, and really just enjoying some social time on the track with your mates.
So, David, I hear you're an HPDE event, track day company. Is that true?
Yes, that's right. Probably the reason I've got involved with these guys is the last 3 years or so I've been running openpitlane.com.au, which is my track day slash, as you said, driver training business. And basically I started that because we had this massive, great track called the Bend Motorsport Park, and we went from having all these tiny little tracks in Australia to the second longest one in the world, 7.7 kilometres long. Wow. And the track were hosting their own events, and they were trying to run 15-minute sessions, 4 sessions every hour on a track with a 5-minute outlap and 5-minute inlap, and it just didn't work. So you get one flying lap in a session. So I've been very lucky to do some amazing HPDE events and track days around the world. Some of the really long ones, like this one in the back here, Nürburgring.
Yeah,
and
I see that.
I had to flip that round so it looks correct in the picture. So it doesn't look right in my office, but. And open pit lane is the only format they run, which is basically anyone can go on track. Anyone that's registered for the event can go on track whenever they like, stay out as long as they like. And it's just a free flow of cars on and off track. And it just wasn't getting done in Australia. And I went, well, we've got the perfect opportunity to start that now with this amazing track at the Bend.
Awesome. And Paul, I've been bothering you on the internet for quite a while. We've been setting this up. So a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm a jack of all trades, former mechanic, former police officer, former police driving instructor, budget racer, done a little bit of speedway, go-karting, fell into the just the budget endurance racing, sort of fitted my friends and my situation at the time, and just turned out to be a lot cheaper than any other form of racing we're trying to do, including go-karting. And We've sort of got together and ran a fairly successful team in that for a while, and then the opportunity to jump on board motor events came along about 12 months ago, and the rest was history. So I'm a certified police driving instructor plus now a AASA, so our governing body instructor with them, and hoping to get down to one of David's track days very soon to help out with that. We've raced on the Bend previously, which is just a fantastic track, just a highlight in Australia. And what Dave does down there is great for that, just to give people the opportunity to sort of get on that track. And what we do as well. So we go to that track as motor events and give the budget endurance races the chance to drive on that track. And we were actually the first series to run on there ever when it opened, the GT circuit. So I'm sort of glad to be with these guys and sort of on the journey.
He says he wants to come down and help out, but really he just wants extra practice time for the next event.
Who doesn't?
We've got a title to defend at the Bend, so it's a bit of a hidden agenda.
Very nice.
It's one of those tracks, isn't it? The Bend is one of those tracks like the Nürburgring where you keep driving around this track and it's so bloody long that you keep thinking, oh yeah, the straight's coming up next. You know, the finish of the lap's coming up next. And it's like, oh, it's not. And then the next corner, it's so hard to learn because it's so long.
Yeah.
But great fun.
Yeah. So you guys got the racing bug to the point where you wanted to start a racing series and run a racing series. That's a pretty big commitment and a pretty big jump from, hey, let's go get my car on the track and get a few laps in. How did the plan come together, I guess?
Well, in 2019, a few years ago before the world changed, I wanted to do a bit of stuff. I wanted to do a bit more stuff in the racing scene. Australia didn't really have too much kind of going on. It was very serious races. So we wanted to do something a little bit different. We wanted to do, we run basically similar to a lot of other endurance series around the world. We do team-based racing, but we bracket people. So we always found that there was a problem where, it's not about winning. We're not competitive, of course. No one's competitive in motor racing, are they? But
nope.
We found that people in really slow cars were getting upset, or we're just always a bit annoyed that there's always this BMW or something, or a Holden Commodore that's always passing me, and I'm frustrating because I'm trying to keep up with them. So we decided that we should start a series where we bracket people by factory engine power. We split them up. You're not necessarily competing against the person next to you, and it doesn't matter. So just do the laps, focus on what you're doing, focus on, pick one or two cars and follow them around the track and just kind of enjoy the day and help each other out and have a bunch of fun. So we decided that we'll put that in place along with keeping the budget theme. We've got a company over here called Red Book, which puts values on vehicles for dealers and stuff that basically gives you an idea of what cars are worth. So we've decided that go buy a car that's a Red Book value of $5,000 or less. So you could go anything from a little 4-cylinder car to a cheap V8 car that we have running around Australia. And really, rather than being limited to just running a shitbox, you could run kind of what you kind of wanted. So we kind of decided there was a little bit more freedom to do what you want. You could be proud of your car. We like to get the cars themed up, and we've got people that get dressed up and have their cars looking like V8 supercars over here, or like spaceships and all sorts of things. So we keep that kind of fun theme, which a lot of other series have got as well. And really, one of the main drivers was to raise some money for a charity in Australia called Rare Cancers Australia. So a lot of our focus is on the charitable side of that. So we did a couple of races, and then COVID came. And in Australia, we've been pretty fortunate with our COVID situation. We often have lockdowns in our states, so you can't cross state borders, and you get stuck places. So I got to a point where I was doing this, and this is a kind of a hobby for me in my life. And as COVID kind of hit, I kind of thought, I know all these great guys. I know Paul, I've known David, and I see what they're doing, and they're really enthusiastic. And we thought, why don't we get these guys, including Lee and Harrison in Victoria, we'll get these guys and we'll have someone in each state, representing each state, to kind of COVID-proof the business and give the budget endurance races of Australia the chance to actually be able to go and do an event without worrying that it's going to be cancelled because I can't travel Australia. So that's really worked well for us. We're halfway through the 2021 calendar. We've got 12 races this year in total. So we're just about to do our 6th race. And most excitingly, we've just ticked over $10,000 raised for Rare Cancers Australia. So we're pretty chuffed with that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's the charity aspect of racing is always huge. You know, we the blind squirrel finds a nut on this end, and we actually won our last race. And, you know, we go in there and they hand us a check and we're like, well, what's the charity? Here you go. Have a nice day. So,
it's great. We've got some really generous people, and it's, you know, you think we're very fortunate that we can go out and race our cars around and hang out with our mates, but there's a lot of people, especially with a rare cancer, that aren't having that good a time and need a bit of help. So it's great to be able to support people.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So do you guys ever get to race personally, or are you too busy shepherding and trying to herd the cats?
I do my best.
Tell them how busy you are racing, even though you're running the series, Paul, traveling Australia. And David?
So the beauty of what we do and having the head person in each state is that if we choose to run an event in another state, which most of us do, we'll travel down and we'll actually assist each other with the administration side of things, and also take our own car. Once the admin side of things dealt with, we can sort of step back and drive our own car or take our own team without too much pressure.
Awesome.
So so we have so I've travelled. I've been to 4 states in 6 weeks, I think, in the last month or last 2 months. So it's good to be home for a little while.
Yeah.
You're back here in South Australia in 2 weeks now, aren't you?
Yeah, so I'm going to travel down to. I'm going to just pop down to David's track day in South Australia in a couple of weeks, just to just because it is the Bend is such a highlight track, and I've got a mate that really wants to go. So I'm going to sort of assist Dave to get a parts car down there, and I might happen to tow a race car down as well and do a few laps.
Fantastic. So in case people aren't familiar with Australia, you know, the only one that people know from the games is Bathurst, right? How many tracks are around? And I would assume most of them would be East Coast or West Coast, but that's, you know, just a guess, just population density. But so how many tracks do you guys get to run a year?
We have a severe lack of racetracks in Australia, and thank goodness that's changing. You know, we've got this thing. I don't know if it happens in the States, but we've got this thing where we have these beautiful racetracks, and then people decide to build houses all around them.
Yep.
And then go, oh,
racetrack's loud.
That racetrack's loud. You got to shut that down. Like, I can't sleep during the day because, you know, whatever reason. So basically in each state, in Queensland's got 3 main racetracks. New South Wales has got 3 main racetracks. Melbourne's got about 3. Dave, you've got a couple down there. Western Australia's got a couple. So there's not too many. And, you know, the real big ones are what we're talking about, the Bend. We've got Calder Park, which is a really cool racetrack that doesn't get utilised very much. Just because it's named after Paul. Yeah. It was actually built after him. But this Park. I don't know if you've ever heard of this racing legend that we've got in Australia called Bob Joan. Mm-hmm. He built this track, and he loved NASCAR, and he brought NASCAR to Australia. So we've got this Thunderdome NASCAR oval connected to a national circuit, which very rarely gets used. But one of the highlights of what we do is we actually get these cars to go race on them. Oh, so nice. That's a really cool little one. And then we've got Sydney Motorsport Park in New South Wales, which is just a phenomenal world-class track as well. So we've got some really good ones. We've got some okay ones. But the good news is, what do you reckon, Dave? In probably the next couple of years, there's probably going to be 3 or 4 more tracks built around the country.
There's 4 that I'm aware of. one going into Queensland, one going into Victoria, two going into Victoria. Is that right?
Victoria must be the place to be.
Big development in one of the New South Wales ones coming up. Probably unofficial news at the moment, but there's a lot of kind of rejuvenation and some of the city tracks, obviously, sadly, getting closed up and turned into housing. But then we've got these amazing new facilities, and now we've had the Bend 3 years, basically. May 2018, I think, was when the Bend Motorsport Park opened, and people have looked at this 300 million Aussie dollar investment and gone, oh, we can actually build tracks that are nice to be at, not just a bit of dirt out in the country. And there's huge investment going into the latest generation of tracks. So I think in the next probably 18 months, 2 years, we should have 3 or 4 exciting new layouts to go to.
That's awesome. It's good to see some new racetracks. And, if you guys ever need anybody to come out there and set some really slow laps so you guys can look good, just let us know. We can set them slow for you, and you can look like superstars. Not a problem.
The good news is
if you get in early, you
can jump in.
I'm the other way. I'm like, if I'm in first, I automatically get the track record, right?
Exactly. Yeah. You can break the record by many seconds if we go out first. So that'll be easy.
Well, actually, we just broke a track record, didn't we, Paul? There's this really, as Dave was saying, we've got this really beautiful track in New South Wales called Pheasantwood Circuit, which has some really exciting things happening. And Paul's just held an event there, which was just it was just the most exhilarating event because of how close the number 1 and number 2 were.
So Pheasantwood is in a town called Marulan, which is about 20 minutes east of Goulburn, which is in the scheme of things Sydney. If you think Sydney, it's probably about 2 hours from Sydney.
Okay.
And was originally built as a driver training facility, so it was actually quite a small circuit originally. Never held any events or anything like that, purely for just driver training and that sort of thing. A couple of guys have bought the track in the last few years who are really passionate about motorsport and have made some massive investments into it so far. It's already been extended once, and they've got massive plans. It's going to be, I don't think we can say too much, but it's going to be a highlight in Australia once this is all done.
Right.
So we held our first event there, and just the consensus out there about the track, it sort of prevented a lot of people travelling to it because they think of it as the original small track and don't realise that it already has had a small extension. But really, it's going to be a massive draw card once everything happens. But anyway, this event that we ran after 2 days of 2 days of driving, 2 cars were 20 seconds apart, and these guys were just hammer and tong at it all day long, and it was just so good to watch. And the way the track presents as well is it's actually a really good spectator track. And there's actually not much of the track that you can't see from pretty much anywhere. And it's probably one of the only events where I've seen pretty much everyone from the pit was riveted to the pit lane wall just watching this battle go on.
For 3 days.
Yeah,
that was ridiculous. It was so good to watch, even on track. I brought 6 people and 2 cars over from South Australia, and we were riveted. These guys were passing us, every 5 laps or something, but they were just 2 cars together, just absolutely on the limit, but respectfully. And awesome. And they just literally trading places for 3 days. It was a good thing to watch.
Yeah, close racing is awesome.
We got halfway through the race. We're on our last day, and as Paul says, it's 20 seconds between these 2 guys. So you wake up in the morning, it's really foggy and cold, and you kind of get out and rub your eyes. And in pit lane, there's Chop Shop Racing and the Lab Rats. These 2 cars are there; they're ready to go, kind of thing. And we thought
they've been camping all night.
Yeah, they've been camping out. They're like lined up to buy something from a store.
I want to be first.
Being released.
Yep.
But, because we don't take things too seriously, we kind of had a bit of a joke with them and said, we might have to send you guys on a treasure hunt or something before you can start. And we ended up tossing a coin to see who would get out on the track first. And I think it's a testament to how social these events are and the kind of atmosphere that we have. The team that was coming second gave a set of tyres to the team that was coming first. So the Lab Rats gave the Chop Shop Racing guys a set of tyres because they were running out of tyres.
Yeah.
And this battle's continuing. And unfortunately, the Lab Rats had to come off because they had a mechanical issue, or they thought they had a mechanical issue. But what they actually had was a tyre failure.
Oh, no.
So the tyres that they gave the Chop Shop cost them the win.
Yeah.
But in the end, they were all happy.
Yep.
And
How good is that, though? The racing spirit. Like,
it was such a good thing.
Give your closest competitor your last set of tyres and then have a tyre failure. It just, it was awesome.
The one thing we
got to crown them, didn't we, Paul? Because we managed to do to tell them about the record and what they won. Very impressive what they won.
Yeah, so we had the grand prize to the actual race team was what we called the golden pheasant. So Pheasantwood was named after a war veteran relative of the track owners. And just given the name, we come up with the golden pheasant, which was a handcrafted trophy made out of junk parts and a nice laser cut golden pheasant sitting on top. And we actually also made a bigger pheasant, which was gifted to the track just to record the record set, which I think was 900 odd laps the guys done over 3 days.
954 laps.
954. Yeah. It's up there.
So they get their name. They get their name on the big pheasant and permanently hung up at the cafe at the track.
Yeah, it's great because we share the same philosophy out here in that you'll give a competitive team whatever they need because you don't want to win without them doing their best.
Yeah.
So it just makes it better. So when you guys have your events, you have multiple classes and about how many cars roughly is it?
So we have 3 competitive classes, which we call, ME 1, 2, and 3. And that's based on factory engine power. But we also have a class called MEO, which is our outlaw class. So if you turn up in a car and we deem it to be outside our rules and regs and, it's a bit more of a race car than a budget car, you can still come and race with us. You're just not going to win anything. So and we have a few guys that want to join us like that, and that's good. And it makes it pretty exciting. So, that's the brackets we run. On average, we have, between 20 to 30 cars and still growing. COVID's really kind of affecting the numbers right now.
Sure.
There's a lot of people doing it tough out there. A lot of people that have got race cars that are just kind of parked up. So that will continue to grow. And just the events that we do, we range in events from 7 hour to 24 hours. So it'll be a 7-hour race over 1 day. We're just currently doing some day-night races, which are 12-hour events. And then we go into our 20 and 24-hour events and, 24-hour continuous events as well, which we've got planned for next year. So no matter what you wanted to do or how you wanted to do it, you can come and do it. And if you want to practice before you get to the tracks, Dave's got his open pit lane track days across Australia. So we've kind of got everyone covered to do whatever you want in your car, where there's a lot of opportunities to get out there, which is really exciting.
Cool. That's very cool. So out here, half the reason we have our podcast is there's really one main reason is try to get people out there and show them that, they can do it. And the other reason is to, demonstrate by, if we can do it, anybody can do it. Is racing still looked at kind of like as an unattainable, I'm not able to do that out in Australia, or do people understand that, really, if you just want to go and try or just, put in a little effort, it's attainable by just about everybody.
We have, I suppose, a lot of race series here, which they call budget or grassroots racing. And we kind of have a bit of a chuckle at it, don't we, Paul? Because you look at it and you see these adverts of people's cars and they say, come and do the cheapest racing you can do and buy this mini race car kind of thing. We've got this different kind of series, right? And the car's only 50 grand and, entry is only, $2,000 for the weekend. And the cost is phenomenal. Right. So I think it's exactly what you're saying. A lot of people don't understand or haven't been exposed to, if you want to get into racing, you really can go out and buy a car for $500 or $1,000, get some parts, put some safety gear in it, and come out and get a huge amount of track time and just have fun with your mates. So we're the same. There's a real education process of, by the time you split these costs with 4 or 5 of your mates in your team, yep, it's really cheap racing.
Yeah, especially if you do it like per minute or per hour of driving,
Oh yeah, it's unbeatable. It's unbeatable. No one can touch us with value for money just because we're out on the track for so long. So, it's always amazing when you talk to these teams and they're amazed that they go, well, we bought this car for $1,000 and we've put the roll cage in it. We've done this and we've done like 8 races and it's still going. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Some of these
haven't broken it yet. Something's wrong.
Yeah, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Well, and then you've got David who races a car that just shouldn't be raced, and yet it still goes all right, doesn't it?
Oh, well, yeah, it runs. I've my business Open Pit Lane branded car is a little 1 litre Volkswagen Up. I'm not even sure if you have them in the States. They're like 2 sizes
we know what they are, though. We know what they are,
yeah.
But
yep.
we don't go that small too often.
Yep, little 1 litre 3-cylinder, naturally aspirated, 75 horsepower, and but obviously because it weighs nothing, so some of the corners is actually the quickest car. It just loses everything on the straights. Yeah. No chance running with the aircon on. You'll go backwards.
Yeah, don't hit the brake pedal because it won't come back for a while.
Yeah.
Actually, we did just make a point of that. We changed out the front pads partway through Paul's event at Pheasantwood as a just super precautionary change. But the car had done 61 hours on a set of pads, and there was probably still 12 hours left in them. But we went, they're getting down a bit. Let's just change them out and. Yeah, I've never seen a set of pads go that long in anything.
I think that's the point.
We just don't use them
fast enough to use them properly, so it doesn't matter. You could just hold a handkerchief out the window and slow yourself down, couldn't you?
Yep. Yeah, it's got those little pop out rear windows, and you could almost use that as a speed brake. That's all it needs.
Yeah.
Active arrow.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though, it looks cool, and people don't expect it on the track. And when you get overtaken by the Up, you're like, you probably got to reassess your life choices.
Yeah. Yeah.
We may, if we do pull off a trip out there, we may be talking to you, David. That sounds like just the kind of car we'd like. So something that really shouldn't be there, something that's got no power, but still fun. Because the limit is the limit. It doesn't matter what the limit is. It's, that's the fun.
Exactly. That's the best thing about it.
Exactly. So generically, you guys got your racing going. Hopefully COVID's coming back out and ramping towards where you want. Do you have any like goals and dreams or bucket list items related to racing? It could be within your series or external, whatever.
Well, we do. We certainly do have a bucket list. We've got, as you mentioned before, one track that everyone wants to be on. It is horrendously expensive to hire.
You got to bury your own beer and all that. I mean, geez.
Yeah, that's right. It's very exclusive. And to get the type of cars on there that we drive is, a bit of a pipe dream. But we're determined, and we're not going to promise anything, but we won't rest until we get our cars, including David's, up around Bathurst.
Will it go up the hill, though?
I'm not even sure it'll get to the top of the hill, to be honest. But
if you do it in reverse, Dave, you might be right. Put it in reverse. And
run it backwards?
Run it backwards, yeah.
It's probably more aerodynamic backwards.
Yeah. We also would really love to be able to do a bit of a festival, a racing festival kind of thing, in a place where you normally wouldn't see racing. So, go out to a nice regional town of Australia, help with their tourism, find an interesting road circuit and build kind of like a racing festival over a weekend there. So we'll keep plodding along with our ideas and we'll get there. In the end, we've got some very determined guys in motor events racing. So we'll get there. And as long as I get to do a few laps on Bathurst, I think I'll be happy.
Well, as long as you've got determination and some bad ideas, you're fine. Sounds like
that's right.
Sounds like great racing. What about you, Paul? You got any bucket list? I really want to do this.
Yeah, as Ben said, I think every person that's got some sort of racing blood in them wants to drive around Bathurst. We came close, not as motor events racing, but just as part of an invitational process. Bathurst has some a weekend of racing early in the year before some of the major events. I was trying to line up with David to sort of make that happen. Unfortunately, the COVID thing came along just at that time and sort of prevented David from travelling interstate and ended that sort of little dream at that time for me.
We were so close.
Delayed.
We were registered. The car was ready, and the borders came down for COVID. What was it? A week out.
Yeah.
And just couldn't get there.
So it's just a delay, not an end. Just a delay.
That's right.
It's never over till
Well,
it's
always
over.
a delay.
That's right.
Well, they've scheduled the event again this year, and it's on the same weekend as our biggest event of the year at the Bend. So I guess that's 2 from 2.
Just a
sadly,
delay.
But
But yeah, I'd like to. Luckily, I got a family holiday into the USA. Not last year, the year before. And we just got back before the COVID thing started to really grow. I did have a look at dates, and I was sort of hoping that I might have been able to sort of get my way into at least go and watch a race over there, or jump into a team. Unfortunately, at the time I went, there was nothing sort of really happening, so it was a bit hard. But again, just a delay. It might happen. It's a bit hard to sort of going on a family holiday and saying I'm just going to go away for the weekend and do this too. So, but yeah, so that's still on the bucket list in a couple of years.
Yeah. Well,
the other thing I'd like to do as well is go and drive the Nürburgring. That's on the bucket list as well. So
it's not a bad
that might be a trip incorporating and Dave as well. I think we might go on a bit of a trek together.
yeah, yep. As part of my my open pit lane business, I've been taking annual trips, customer trips over from Australia. When people have had enough of all the tracks we run in Australia, I say, well, come along. We'll go out in September and go and hang out at the Nürburgring and Spa in Belgium, which are only 100 kilometers apart. As people don't realise how close they are to each other. And yeah, just kind of started doing that in the last couple of years, and then COVID hit, and it cancelled last year, and it looks like it's cancelled this year as well. But again, like you said, just a delay.
Yep.
But I have to warn you, Paul, it is hopelessly addictive. I've been 12 years in a row, at least once, if not twice. So,
it's awesome.
Once you go, you find yourself going back frequently.
So that's a fairly popular double stop around us. So the one thing I always ask when I know somebody's done it, do you prefer the ring or do you prefer Spa? They're very different.
They're very different. Spa is the better racing circuit, I believe. It's certainly if you want to get a car on its limit and keep it there and actually increase your skill level, Spa is certainly the track to do it over the Nürburgring. The Nordschleife, you unless you're insane or very, very experienced, you really can't drive to the limit. I kind of liken it to a tarmac rally course, or an alpine road, where it's the road's in the same place every time, but it's almost never in the same condition every time you come around. The weather's changed, or the light's different, or the track temperature's different. It's
somehow that left turn became a right turn
there. Yeah. Yep. So. We always say that when someone comes in for a penalty with motor events, we say, "Did the track move?" No. Well, why did you go off the track then? No, but yeah, if I had to pick one forever out of the two, for sure, it would be the Nürburgring. But Spa absolutely has its place, and if you want to get in a quick car, that's where I'd be going. you've got your runoff, and you've got it's an F1 track, so you can get away with more and hopefully keep the bills down, if that makes sense.
Yep. There's very little forgiveness in most of the Nürburgring. So, and those checks that they ask you to write if you hit their Armco is pretty high. So we don't want that.
Yeah, you don't do that because you pay for everything.
You do.
And the rental car fees when you damage them. You probably just want to skip town, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And keep going.
Yeah, the most expensive toll road in the world. Anyway, so what have you guys learned? We always do like a good, the bad, the ugly, but what have you guys learned from your racing series? What's gone well, or what did you do well, or what hasn't gone so well, or things you wouldn't do that way? And did you have any? Everybody loves the ugly story, right?
It's a good question, because I suppose we spend so much time talking about how to do things, how we would like them, that I think we've probably diverted any really bad stories from kind of happening. Like we've seen what a lot of other series have done, and our organisation getting people to the track. The worst thing that we hate is you turn up to the track and you're spending all this money and you're standing in lines to register and sign forms and stuff like that. So we've managed to digitize a whole bunch of stuff. All the boring stuff gets done beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably something we do well. Jump in, guys, if you think there's anything that we've learnt. I think probably, we're planning to upgrade some safety standards. We run well in excess of what we have to with the insurance side of these events that we do, but
always a good idea.
I think we'll continue to push those safety standards to a higher level. I think overall, I think sometimes I have more fun running the events than participating in the events. It's just so much fun.
It is. Yep. I think one thing we're still learning and developing is just how to position the events across the calendar, and how to get kind of 12. We're probably going up to 13, 14 events nationally next year, and there's actually quite a bit that goes into planning the dates and working out where when the school holidays are, when the public holidays are, because they're different in every state, and then trying not to take drivers out of one event to fill another event. There's almost no one that's going to be doing all 13 events, so we have to position them across the years so that most teams will do 2, 3, 4, maybe a handful more than that, but just trying to organise the calendar so we're not treading on each other's toes, and that also that as organisers, we can go to each other's events and have a good time as often as possible.
Awesome. Come on, Paul, give me an ugly. Give me something. These guys are way too nice.
Yeah.
Well, I think just as Ben's covered, I think we catch up every week. We have weekly meetings, generally, regardless, even if there isn't too much to talk about, and we cover these things to try and make sure that we're giving the people that are spending their money maximum value. So, and as with our experience of actually having been in the system before, we sort of knew what we didn't like, and we make sure that doesn't happen. Probably one big thing with our penalties, we still penalise, and that's probably like where we sit. A lot of people probably didn't like the massive theming of previous series, and that's where we backed off a bit with the full-on approach to that. And if people want a theme, we love it and we welcome it.
Right.
But in saying that too, we don't penalise people that choose not to, or that just want to have come and have the fun.
Right.
Like people are spending good money and they're travelling a long distance. And if they do something wrong, we want to make sure they know they've done something wrong. But in saying that too, we're not going to take them off the track for an hour or so at a time, unless it's really justified. Generally, a penalty will involve having a chat to the driver and sort of getting them back on track fairly quick. If it sort of escalates from there, then we look at sort of moving to other things. But again, just trying to maximise the value for money for people. Or if we need to penalise a driver, we'll take that driver out of the car, and the new fresh driver can go in, and we'll deal with that guy while the car still sort of runs around the track. So they get both ends of the stick. They get to have the fun penalty, and they don't massively lose out because the whole team's sort of being punished for one indiscretion.
Sure. So two things that we kind of battle to. It depends. We have like 6 or 7 series just for endurance racing nationally. Two of the things that we have battles depending on which series and which race and often which area of the country, aggressive driving and speed creep. Do you guys have issues with that with your series as well?
Who wants to take that? I think everyone has that, don't they? It's
No
racing.
one wants to take that.
No one wants to take that.
Never heard of it, right?
Yeah, no, that
know
never
what you mean.
happens. Until you put that helmet on, that never happens. So,
Yep.
No, so we do. We do. We'll often do radio calls to calm people down. And if they're just there for the wrong reason and they're bullying people and they're corner diving and they're just going out of control because they've got to win, that's when you bring them in and muck around with them.
Yep.
And that's when it's fun. So that's something that I think, especially with new drivers, they get in and they're so excited and they just want to go for it because it's their first time on a track and their skill, doesn't match their expectations. And that's where all of a sudden, they're talking to us and they're having to deal with doing something. They're out of the car. We're calming them down. We're making them roll tires around or try to hit a golf ball into a bucket or just sitting down having a breather if that's what they choose to do. So,
right.
I don't think you're ever going to get that out of these kind of events. There's always someone that's going to come there and go, I want to win and I'm going to do it at all costs. So managing
It's usually Paul, though.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, it is actually Paul. King domination. So how do you deal with that, Paul? Not winning. What happened last weekend? What happened last round? Did you cry yourself to sleep or?
So we actually, so I'm sort of, I'm one of these people that I didn't really want to compete in my own event. So I don't think it looks good to sort of, because my team has done okay over the last few years. And I don't want to be a part of a team that's standing up and getting a prize or whatever from an event that I run. It's just not something I'm terribly comfortable with.
Yeah.
So we ran a team at the event at Pheasantwood that I did run. In my job of actually running the event, forgot to get the guys more fuel, so they ended up spending about 20 minutes off track trying to beg and borrow some fuel off some people. But yeah, it's one of those things that I guess once you have the experience in that, it's you just learn to back off. And look, we've got we race in the lowest category of power, and the car traditionally has done quite well. And it's probably a lesson to be learnt from, even though we have the rules where you can actually drive a faster car or a more powerful car. Overall, the least powerful cars generally do the best.
And the least modified cars too, eh? Everyone wants to modify their car because they think they're going to get an advantage, and they break.
Yep. Yeah. Modify the
drive.
Probably works better.
Just as someone that has a team, I think generally anything that we've done to the car is actually trying to eliminate things rather than put new things in. If you can take one part out of the car that it doesn't need, then it's one part that can't break.
Mm-hmm.
And in saying that, I think our Mazda Acceler, I think it's over there. So Mazda 3 over here, which is what we run. And the motor now has 14,000 kilometres as a race car, plus whatever it had when it was bought from the written off vehicle auctions.
Mm-hmm.
And has been bulletproof reliable from an engine point of view. And it's just a standard engine. Gearboxes are a slightly different thing. It seems to tube those a little bit, so we need to work on that. But yeah, like the least powerful category, and it's whilst these cars that put out more horsepower in getting fuel, you put a couple of laps on them. They'll tend to overtake us a few times on the track, but then they're in getting fuel a bit more often than what we have to. So
But Paul does cheat. Paul does cheat because, you know, he takes out the standard 50-litre tank, and what have you got in there? Like a 200-litre tank or something?
Oh,
like you've got a trailer, you tow behind this thing full of fuel, don't you?
I don't think we're here to give away secrets.
Oh, sorry. So no mention of double slow bars and stuff,
No.
Yeah.
And then David's car never needs any gas because it's only a 1 liter, right?
Well, that's right. So, you know, taking things out of
35-litre tank
problems, he's taken a whole cylinder out and just run through cylinders. It's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing can
Lest
ever
you
go wrong.
Yep.
He just gets the team to stand on the pit wall and blow winds as they go by, and that's enough for another lap. So
We had our first mechanical fault in more than 70 racing hours, and it was a broken wheel bolt at the last event, which was actually a problem because we ended up breaking 5 of them. And we were running around the pits trying to find 12 by 1.5 wheel bolts, which are not common over here, but we had to rob them off a wrecked BMW sitting in the corner.
I was going to say, I got a ton of them
at the end of the race, but
I don't think I could have got them to you any quicker, but I got a lot of them here. But
well, next time
we were running down the local hardware store trying to find some high tensile bolts. We were thinking about doing a trackside stud conversion, but anyway, we managed to get it back going again.
And zip ties wouldn't have cut that, would they? So, you know, you can't zip tie your wheels on. You can zip tie everything else on.
As long as the wheels didn't leave the car, we're good.
That's right.
Those wheels go really fast when they don't have a car with them. They're amazingly fast. So you guys mentioned penalties. Do you guys have any favorite penalties that your personal favorites, or something that comes to mind that?
So the Pheasantwood event, we have a long-standing team, which is a North Korean themed car, DPRK, and unfortunately, those guys, a couple of those guys were sort of hit by the COVID thing pretty severely, and haven't been able to fix their Subaru again.
It is a Subaru, so I mean,
yeah. It's a Subaru.
So I actually invited a couple of that team down to actually have a drive of my car and take care of the penalty box for us. So they sort of dressed up in their North Korean outfits, and one of the more severe penalties was going to be to take the North Korean driving test, which is basically an online game and boring as hell, and take something like 30 minutes to do a whole lap.
Oh, wow.
On this video game. Luckily, no one actually ended up needing to do that. So
everyone was well behaved, weren't they?
Yeah, it was actually a really good event. Yeah.
We've also got a little challenge we do, which is what we call our pit crew challenge, and it sounds really simple until you actually do it, where you get a tyre and you put one tyre on top of the other, and you kind of roll the thing backwards to move the bottom tyre forward, like an F1 style kind of tyre roll. And we've got a 6-metre course. You roll it through, you roll it back without kind of hitting the cones. And everyone looks at it and is like, that's easy. But far out, man.
Not easy.
That's not easy. That's not easy. So you do that a couple of times, and there's some frustrated people throwing tyres around, and it should be easier. So that's a bit of fun as well.
The guys who can do that make it look easy, but it is not easy.
At all. Not easy at all.
It's like 2 of the things that I saw a guy doing that. He works at a tire store, so I saw him doing that. So I go to where we work on our cars, and I start trying to do that. It's a nightmare. And then this other thing, I don't really drink, but I was running a party in college, and I'm walking in to get the kegs for the party, and there's this guy walking out, and he's got 2 kegs on his shoulders just walking out. And I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. So I get the 7 kegs for the party because, it's a party. And they're like, do you need any help? And I'm like, well, I'm thinking back. There's this guy walking out with 2 kegs on his shoulder. How bad could it be? No, I got it.
How hard could it be?
Turns out they were empty, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Whatever. Oh, well, these things happen. What about you, David? You got any favorite penalty?
One of my favorites is sending the whole team to do laps through the car. So,
That's right.
What do you mean?
Parking up in the pits, and then getting the driver out, and then doing a lap from the driver's side through the passenger side. And climbing over roll cages and gear shifters and whatever else. It's actually quite difficult.
Especially with nets and everything, right?
4 or 5 or 6 team members to do a couple of laps through the car, then that's a decent video for the socials.
Yep.
It's always a
and you
laugh.
can't-
They're always really good sports about it.
You can't climb into a race car or climb through a race car like that and look eloquent or sexy.
No.
Like,
Actually, one guy did it
funny
backwards last time.
faces and as you kind of get in. So,
Yep.
that's hilarious.
Especially if you're a luxurious mammal, shall we say?
Yeah,
So,
Actually, my event back in March at Malala, I did a 24-hour race then, and we were having a barbecue on the Saturday night and invited all the teams around, and we made some burgers and that sort of stuff. But there was no barbecue at the track, so I went down to the local hardware store, just picked up a cheap, flatbed barbecue, and I said in the driver's briefing, the first one to go 4 wheels off the track, they have to assemble this barbecue because we need it for tonight. And it actually took 2 hours before anyone came off the track, so they were trying really hard not to have to assemble this barbecue.
that's fantastic.
Actually, maybe that's the way to go. Maybe we should start bringing jobs we need done to the track, and we can make the participants do it for us. I think we're onto something here.
Get the honey-do list finally addressed, right?
Yeah. You got to go home and stop my tap from leaking.
That's right.
I think we're onto something.
I got to build a planter for all the plants or whatever. So that'd be great. So we have a few listeners, believe it or not, in spite of me being a host, and they may be international. So it would be far be it from me not to work out how they could come and plan to race with you guys. So is there like arrive and drive or car rentals available if people were able to come and vacation with you guys as soon as, post COVID and everything's back to semi-normal, or is that an option?
We have a lot of teams that offer arrive and drive platforms. We've also got a few companies around the country that actually you can purely just rent the car and turn up to the track. You can even rent a person to come and help you do all your mechanical work and look after the car and all the rest of it. But the first point of call would be to jump onto one of our discussion groups, which is just the Motor Events Racing discussion group.
Okay.
And there's a lot of conversation on that Facebook forum of people pairing up teams and joining up. And in fact, we had someone yesterday or the day before that contacted me and said, "Hey, I'd love to join a team," and put a post there, and there's 4 or 5 guys saying, "Yeah, We've got seats for and all the rest of it." So actually, I was watching the news this morning, and they're saying they're going to let international students back in. So I think what we need to do is somehow make this an educational process.
I'm always learning. I'm just FYI.
I think this is the way. And then what we can do is we can bring you into the country as a student of the Motor Events Racing University.
Oh, absolutely.
And you can do some racing and learn some stuff. And then we'd have to do the exchange thing. So we take you, you've got to take us.
No, that's not a problem.
I think that's the way to go.
We know a team with a podcast out here that can easily trade a car for a car, just home and home series, shall we say? So that's fine.
So what we need some European listeners so we can do that exchange program to Germany, the Nürburgring and Spa and stuff. So sure. I think we'll just keep we'll get this university going, the Garage Heroes University.
There we go. The international exchange students. We'll work on that.
Yeah,
that'll be fun. I don't know, David. Is it true that there's like a machine you put a quarter in near the Nürburgring and Porsches pop out? Is that true?
It seems that way. Like every second car is a GT3, isn't it?
I know. It's like I'm struggling with a GT3, right? Yeah.
And then you go and see something that's just a normal car anywhere else, and you go, "That's really weird. I've never seen one of them over here." And yeah, but it's basically the mecca for new high performance cars. Like as soon as the new GT3's out, there's 7 of them in the car park at the Nordschleife. The GR Yaris is the big thing at the moment, and there's just dozens of them. I'm going, where are all these cars coming from? Mm-hmm. But they have to be first on the track with the new model.
Yeah. All right, I distracted from the coming over. So we can do the car rentals. When we do car rental exchanges, we can work that out. That's easy. What about are there hotels near the tracks, or is there like RV rentals? They do that a lot around here. How would the logistics of lodging and everything be addressed?
I think there's just an open invitation to stay at Paul's house. Isn't that right, Paul?
That's what I heard. That's the only reason we said yes.
Weather's nice right your way.
No, there's always hotels that are around. What's quite popular at our events, because we've got such good relationships with the racetracks, it isn't normal, but they actually allow us to camp and set up caravans and RVs and halls, set up like a community at the Pheasantwood event recently, where we had caravans and motorhomes and stuff everywhere. So, and I reckon that's probably the funnest way to stay there, because you're just there, you're in the environment, and it's just awesome.
There's nothing better. Mm-hmm.
And, I'm sure you've heard that everything in Australia kills you, but it's not true. At racetracks, we keep all the snakes out. There's no spiders. There's no killer kangaroos. It's fine.
Watch out for those drop bears, though.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, the drop bears, that's another thing.
Yep.
And don't interrupt a koala that's eating. Yep, got it. We're good. Right. We're good.
Probably just going back to accommodation, I mean, one of the, where David was talking about the bend earlier, and this whole venue is actually created around supporting motorsport, and there's literally a caravan park with on-site accommodation a couple of 100 meters from the track, solely for the racetrack. There's also a motel on pit lane. Like the pit lane building is quite a nice motel. It's quite
they've got a 100-room hotel on top of the pit garages, which is, well, it's unique here anyway. It's if you want to stay somewhere a little bit fancier, you just literally come out of the garage and go upstairs. But I think I'll be staying at the caravan park this year. It's more fun that way.
Yeah. Although it was peculiar, wasn't it, David? Last time we did the event at the Bend, they talked to us about not starting the cars early because you might disrupt the hotel guests, and you kind of like the hotel guests are here to race. So,
It's probably their car, right?
Yeah, that's right. They're not here for the scenery. There's nothing else here except for a racetrack. So,
yep, we understand. All right, so I got one more question, and then we'll make sure everybody can find you guys. If somebody's got a, trying to arrange a once in a few years trip out to see you guys, what's an event or a track, or several of them, that you guys would recommend? You really get to feel the flavor of racing in Australia by racing here, or do you guys have a favorite, or what are you thinking?
Oh, that's not fair. Everyone's got to pick their own track, aren't they?
Obviously, that's why I'm trying to find out.
I'm going to give you the top three. I'm going to jump in, and I'm going to say, for me, it's the Bend, Calder Park, and Sydney Motorsport Park. So next year,
it's named after you. I mean, that's biased, I would say.
So they're all unique in their own way and all sort of worth a visit. Sydney Motorsport Park was sort of a little bit hard for us to get into. We've got our foot in the door this year, and we're hoping to go big with it next year. Calder Park is unfortunately sort of being run down a little bit, not able to use. We're the only series that actually uses the Thunderdome, which is, I think it's based on Charlotte Motor Speedway, which then comes off and incorporates what's called the National Circuit. And it's like no other track in Australia. It's totally unique and an absolute blast. Mm-hmm. And then just the Bend. The Bend's just an absolute highlight. You've got accommodation next door. There's, David's company, which has probably a car that they can rent out. And the track is, again, it's actually like nowhere else in the world. It's
the track is actually, David, correct me if I'm wrong, the track is the second largest permanent track in the world.
Yep.
Is that still correct?
After the Nürburgring Nordschleife, I believe so. There is, I've seen something on Google Maps in America that looks longer, but
Thunder Hill's probably it.
Is that it? Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
So I don't know how they classify it, but maybe it's FIA circuits. The Bend is only 3 years old. It's a 35 corner, 7.77 kilometers, so it's 10% longer than Spa.
Yeah.
You won't get your head around it in a day. It's just there's just so many corners, and they come one after the other. There's quite a lot of undulation. Maybe not as much as Spa, but certainly enough that you'll hide cars in the dips in between corners.
Sure.
And you don't see a horizon for probably the half of the track, the back half of the track. So we have had some people making themselves sick in their helmets and that sort of stuff the first time they come out, because it's
disorienting.
There's not a lot of visual reference, but we've managed to extend it for this year. So we ran the full 7.7 kilometer GT layout last year, and we've actually worked out how to make it into an 8 kilometer 40 corner track this year by adding in another couple of loops. So
Dave's been heading out there at night, haven't you, Dave? You've been heading out there at night.
Yeah, I've been running around with traffic cones at night, and
and just laying a little bit more corners.
He's got his orange Hot Wheels
motor
track.
events property on them.
So we've made Australia's longest track longer, and there won't be very much. There won't be very much longer than that. It'll be interesting to see what the lap times are like. I think it'll be something like 5.5 minutes, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah. I could just see you when you were growing up as a kid. You probably had the Hot Wheels track, and you'd have it going down the stairs and going through a loop around your mom's, flower in the kitchen. Yeah. Okay. I could see that.
Absolutely.
I think that happens now still, doesn't it, Dave? Isn't that a Hot Wheels set in the background?
Could be.
None of us have grown up.
My 7-year-old son has a Hot Wheels set, and I think I spend more time with it than he does. So yeah, you're probably right.
Well, motor racers, they get older, but they don't seem to grow up. So we agree. It's the way to be. I don't mind getting older. I'm just not growing up. Just gave that up for Lent or whatever. So if people want to follow along, find out what's going on with your series, what's the best way to cyber stalk or find you guys on the internet and see what's going on?
The easiest way is to jump on Facebook and search out Motor Events Racing. That's where you can really stalk us. And we've got our website, of course, registration system and all the events and stuff, which is motorevents.com.au. So come and join us. And when this crazy world gets a bit easy to travel, we'll be overseeing you, and we'll love people can come over and see us and join in the madness that's Motor Events Racing.
Right. Help raise some money for some very good cause.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're really, really proud of how far we've gone with the fundraising, and this is only the beginning for us. So we've got some very generous teams out there helping us make a big difference. So we're very thankful for that. That's awesome. Well, it was great talking to you guys. We'd love to have you on again. Hopefully see you in person at some point once everybody's allowed to start playing around. And if you're ever out this way, let us know. We'd love to see you. We can, we have enough cars. We can definitely rent one out for nothing. So, and David, I've got my eye on that 1 liter. I'm thinking it's going to happen.
Can't wait. It'll be good.
That'll be fantastic. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Hope you had a good time, and we'll talk to you again.
Talk soon.
Cheers. See
you.
Have a great night or day for you.
Dominating with Dawson.
Looking for Ben Dawson. Need Ben Dawson. Need some Dominating with Dawson.
Ooh, that guy is elusive.
He is. He looks like you. Have you seen him recently?
Ooh. I'll try to see if I can roast him. But go ahead and tell me your question. I'll see if I can get him in here.
All right. Well, we've got this question is a shout out to all our fellow podcast hosts this evening. It's going to be talking about trail breaking.
I'm this is definitely going to be a Ben Dawson facsimile answering this one because I never think about it, but I know I do it.
Okay. So Miss Vicki and Miss Jen are coming in to HPDE2.
Great.
They are acclimating quite well. They are doing very well. However, they are still transitioning a bit from full braking in a straight line to some of them are in the beginning of trail braking. Some of them are getting pretty good at trail braking, but I wouldn't say they've conquered it.
Gotcha.
So what I was thinking about was perhaps we could go into a turn where you would trail brake, like something like a normal right-hand turn, right angle turn, and talk about the timing of the trail brake. Meaning, what do you do when? Oh,
it's good. It's a good thing you asked me, the guy who never thinks about it. No, let me just weigh in real quickly here. I want to hear from the two HPDE2 participants / also very experienced racers. I just want to hear each of you guys say what trail braking, what your understanding of it is, and where you are with trying to do it. It's okay. It's okay if you're like, I hear it all the time and I don't know what you're talking about, because that was me for a long time because I just ignored the term. So, but
that's threshold braking for Jennifer.
Okay. Well, what do you guys think about that? Do you want to hit it, Jen?
So
is this like threshold braking too?
It's when you use your brakes, but after you kind of make the turn.
Yes.
Right.
And then you kind of gradually let off of the brakes. You trail off.
That's
you
right.
trail off.
Yay! She got it.
For extra bonus
because-
credits, Jen, what is threshold braking? You going to do threshold braking and get the double bonus points or no?
I can try. Let me think about it a minute.
All right. This is the one that's bothered you forever.
Yeah, I have a threshold that I just walk through to get out to the garage to podcast all the time. Like the threshold of the door, there's a threshold of pain that people. I'm just trying to say things while you think of what you want to say. I'm ready whenever you are.
He's giving you hints.
Talking. No, I mean I'm just talking while she's thinking of what she wants to say. I got one. Can I do it?
It's your segment, Ben.
Go ahead.
We can't
Just go ahead
stop
and
you.
do it.
Well, threshold braking means that you're braking right to the threshold of locking up the tires, or the threshold of adhesion between the tires and the track. That's
And
the
sliding.
threshold. So you're using every bit of braking grip you can get between the tire and the track without locking up or sliding. So that's what the
Okay,
threshold is.
that makes sense.
Or ABS.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, your ABS kicks in, but also if you have a car with ABS, whale on that shit too.
All right. So back
So
to the question.
It's braking enough to before they lock up.
Yes,
That's
you're
what
at the-
threshold braking is.
You're at the
yes.
limit, the threshold of.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I misunderstood. The first couple of times I heard it, I thought there was something completely different. So I had to explain to me that no, it's just all the braking you can do. So if somebody says you want to do threshold braking, it means you immediately jump on the pedal. So if you're braking at the 3, your foot is on the pedal as hard as you can brake. There's no building up to it. There's no ramping up the brakes. You stomp on that pedal and you get every bit right then.
Yeah. You don't instantaneously go from 0 to 100, but you go up at a very, very, very steep, very quick.
You jump on those brakes.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no working up to it. You're just on the brakes.
It's the opposite of street.
Okay.
Okay. So back to trail braking. So so Vicki, since Jennifer answered what trail braking is, what is the sequence of inputs for trail braking? What would you be doing? You're going up to a right angle turn.
Going up. Well, you should do your clutch work first. And then you brake.
No. You're going to blow up your engine if you do your clutch work before you brake, right?
Yes.
Okay. Then don't do that.
Don't do that.
I see, you know what it is? It's like I don't think when I'm doing it. And maybe that's my problem, is that I just do it.
Yes, it is. So we're going out of Keyhole. We're going straight down that straightaway into China Beach, and we're going to turn right. I'm getting ready to start.
Don't
Getting ready
go
to slow
to
down.
a track that I'm familiar with, because I've only driven that track once.
Okay. I'm going to New Jersey Thunderbolt.
Okay.
Going down a straightaway.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting to the end of the straightaway, and I'm going to turn right.
Yep.
Okay. What am I doing?
So I'm braking.
Yes.
All the way down. Do my shifting.
Mm-hmm.
But see, do my shifting. And then I think for that one, I would do not threshold, but then I would do, what's the other one?
Threshold. You would do a threshold there.
Yeah, I do a threshold, but then I have to do trail braking out.
Turn in.
I turn in.
And then you
but
start
then
to back off on the brake.
Right. But as I'm applying the gas at the same time, I'm starting to kind of transition.
What do you think, Ben? How many points?
3 out of 5.
3 out of 5. Yeah. Okay. Ben, what do you think?
Or were you answering the sequence of what you're doing still?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you're attempting to trail brake into a corner, you're going to do the bulk of your braking while you're still in a straight line before you turn in. But as you turn in, you're still on the brakes and you're trailing off the brakes as you're turning in toward the apex, so that the very first sequence is you're driving down the straightaway fully on the throttle. You begin to apply the brakes where you've set your brake point, whatever however you've gotten to learn it. That's where your brake point is. You apply the brakes. At that point, you're still on the brakes as you turn in. But as you're turning in and headed down toward the apex, you're coming off the brakes. And then at some point, right at the apex, a little bit before, a little bit after, that's where you start to swap the brakes for the throttle. You're fully off the brakes and you begin to feed in the throttle. Or if you're in a Miata or an E30, you slam the throttle down.
Mm-hmm. So the reason that we're trying to do this is for you to think about it just a little bit. Is if you're threshold braking, the definition of threshold is you're using all the grip on your tires, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to turn, the tires are already fully spoken for.
Mm-hmm.
So they won't turn. So you have to back off a little bit on the brake, which is why you trail brake. And once you back off just a little bit, then you can turn a little bit. You back off a little more, you can turn a little more.
The more braking grip you give up, the more turning grip you have. So you're just doing it in proportion. I think one of the reasons, at least from my own experience, why I don't think about the trail braking concept very much or try to do it like consciously, think, oh, I need to trail it down in there. I think my own personal driving style is kind of like do a bunch of braking and then just slam the car, just wail on the front tires and hope I can get the car to catch and rotate. So I pretty much bounce the car off the front tires to get turned in. So usually I'm not trying to trail braking, you get to kind of cheat the brake. You can kind of cheat the brake zone a little bit deeper into the corner, that sort of thing. That's another one of the benefits to trail braking. But I'm like my style is much more of just an upset kind of style. Like I want to get that. I want to brake really hard and then just throw the car in the corner. So I think my style is not necessarily kind of driving style that depends on trail braking or I don't think about it much, but I'm sure I'm doing it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. It's a matter of how much, right?
Right. It's not something that's so central to me getting around the track the way I like to that I think about it very often. But some folks, it's a big part of their style. I would say drivers who are a lot smoother than me are likely to be drivers who are better at trail braking and use it more effectively than I do. Just a guess.
Yes. Like the most recent reminder would be when Vicki was driving around with Joey, the instructor for her class. He goes into the brakes hard. Then he starts backing off the brakes and he turns in and he's gradually switching the amount of turn with the amount of brake. And then once he knows he's going to hit the apex, that's when he resumes throttle. It could be just before, it could be just after, it could be right there.
Right. I think I like to use a big sudden brake release as part of my horking the car into the corner, like just slamming the front tire. So I'm not that big on trail braking because I like to yank up off the brakes. In some cases, not every case, but especially places where it's a tough rotation or a lot of rotation. A lot of times my deal is I'm just going to sling it down in there and just jump off the brakes as part of my messed up way of getting to the apex.
So Miss Jen, is trail braking a little clearer to you now or
Sure.
Still something you're working on?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Hey, so me too.
I mean, this didn't solve it?
No, I mean, I understand it. Can I just go out tomorrow and just know it on the track? No, it takes practice. So yeah.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, I'm clear in my head what it is.
Okay.
But, understanding what it is and applying it are two different things. So.
How about you, Miss Vicki?
Yeah. The thing is with me is that I'm learning it, but I can't tell you how I'm learning it. Like I can't explain it, but I'm doing it and I'm tweaking it as I go. So describing it's different.
We'll probably have to talk about it again at some point in the future, but at least we're on the same pattern.
Well, this isn't the first time. This isn't the first time we talked about it, is it?
No,
but it's
third, fourth, maybe even the fifth. But, every time it gets a little better.
Thank you. Exactly.
Great.
At least you're getting better, Ben.
That's great. That's why we're here, right?
I hope so.
All right.
All right. Thank you, sir.